Hello, Highpoint families. Mark here, just making things clear between us as the youth leaders and you as the families. And Camp Tadmor is coming up really quick. So I'm very excited because this Sunday our middle school camp is heading out. So we meet between 1 and 1:30 in the Foundry for check-in. We'll leave around 2. Packed camp, loaded, bringing the A team of leaders yet again. People that I love and respect. Make sure to take a brochure about our cabin leaders when you come to drop off your kids in the Foundry. So you have this cabin leader brochure, walks through why I love these leaders and what their life experiences and their hobbies and all that stuff, so you can get to know them. So make sure to pick that up. Just want to let you know something very important. So night 1 at Camp Tadmor, I just have a tradition that I really have grown to love each year that goes by. And so I just night 1, I start with the guys. So we get all the Highpoint guys in one cabin, combining 2 cabins, and we get in there. The guys are usually double in a bunk. And honestly, it's 10-15 minutes. I just give them the man talk. So I just want to make sure you understand what the man talk is and that you understand what it is not, because it will not be certain things. But honestly, I just want to give them some tips like how to live as a godly man in 2019. And I find this to be very important. These boys get this right now at their age. And so there's so many temptations out there. And I'm not going to get like nitty-gritty detail with stuff, but if you're a parent watching this right now, you're like, oh, my incoming 6th grader, they're so innocent and they just know Legos. And like, I'm just going to break it to you that your students have been exposed to a lot more than you realize. I realized when I was in 6th grade when I was first introduced to pornography, and it was print. This is probably 10 years before the smartphone came out. And it was behind the school. Some buddies found a magazine by a dumpster, and I was like, wow, this is like, and it's still today burnt into my brain. Exposure then, here we are years later, and whoever thought that we'd have all the world's information in our pocket, so good information, bad information, it's there. So if you're thinking, oh, my student doesn't have a phone, well, their friends have phones. They have connections. They have seen stuff that you probably have no idea what they have been viewing. So I'm not going to get nitty-gritty. I'll explain what pornography is in a very general way, because a lot of these brand new 6th graders, their eyes will be very wide and very like, what's going on here with this talk. Just want to give them some tips about how to live as a godly man, how to fight temptation, what does it mean to rise up and live as a Christ follower. So the 3 things I'll talk about will be this. Number 1 is submission. Submission. When they wake up in the morning, are they submitting to the authority of God? Are they submitting to the authority of Scripture? So like when I wake up in the morning, it's like, hey, not my will be done, God, but your will be done through me today. So denial of self. Again, completely against what the culture's saying, right? Culture's like, hey, do whatever you want, pursue what you want if it makes you feel good, makes you happy. So God has a lot to say about that. So submission. I picture like a cup. I might even bring a cup into the cabin too. If you just picture that cup being filled up and overflowing with Scripture, with prayer, just thinking about God all day and how awesome He is, we deny ourselves. And when that cup has no room for other stuff like garbage, then that garbage is probably not going to be there. And so super important is to remember is submission. Number 2 is how to respect and treat women. This is really important for these boys to know now. And a lot of these boys, I know they come from homes without a father figure, or if there's a dad there, maybe he's more just there physically, not maybe a spiritual leader. But it's just, I want these boys to know how to treat women with just the utmost respect. And I'll give them a challenge to look at the ladies at camp that may be struggling with a bag into a bus, or packing something, opening a door for ladies. There is nothing wrong with that. And just to respect these ladies, because today, especially with just pornography that's now so easily accessible, women are just becoming objectified, just as this object, like a piece of meat. And that is so against God's design for humanity, and especially for women. So that will be the second charge, is how to respect women. The third thing is this. Honestly, when we're done talking about this, I will have all the boys exit the cabin and we just practice a handshake, a good old-fashioned handshake with eye contact. And I just love to set the course for the boys now in life. Like, there's something powerful when someone greets you, just to shake their hand, look them in the eye, and have it be a firm handshake. And so we're going to practice this as they leave. And at some point, of course, we want to pray for the boys that the enemy will just leave them alone, and that they can actually just grow up to be godly men who raise godly families and are focus on being a one-woman man and just to completely rebel against culture. That's my prayer for them. So I hope that helps you. Those are the 3 things we'll talk about. Rabbit trails happen, so you never know. We had an interesting thing a couple years ago I shouldn't talk about. I will not talk about the birds and the bees. So my salary does not allot for me to even go there. I will let you as a parent figure that one out. I will give you some tips if you give me a few tips in my jar. So yeah, that we're not going to go there. These boys, if they're maybe on a farm someday, they'll figure that out. That's kind of in a nutshell what we'll talk about at Tadmor. So I'm super glad that we're going, and then in a couple weeks ago for high school camp, back at it again. So a lot of Tadmor in the month of July, and so we'll see you Sunday for middle school camp for check-in in the Foundry between 1 and 1:30, and we'll go from there.